All right. Hi. Welcome. My name is Johnjohnfm. You can find me on the web as Johnjohnfm anyways. My name is John Reynolds, but that doesn't matter. So today I'll be going over JST Maximizer since a lot of you had questions about it. I am running two other plugins. I have JST EQ as well as Curbs Equator on here. If you haven't watched my other mastering video, definitely go watch that to see what this stuff is about. But today is going to be about JST Maximizer. And yeah, so there's a lot here when you start with it, but it's kind of easy to get used to. The biggest thing I'll have to say is that it's very touchy, so you're gonna want to use these tools sparingly. Over to the right, you have your meters. You should familiarize yourself with those. You also have gain matching. Now this is one of the very last things you do, so don't worry about that right now. Today we're gonna worry about this stuff right down here at the bottom end, and this stuff at the top. So we're gonna start by setting our threshold. Oh, and if you're following along with the files, you can throw your mix or my mix into your project and follow along. If you're unsure where to find that, it's over on my Patreon. So now that we have the threshold set, we're gonna go work on the left side of JST Maximizer, starting with the low end. Now this mix has quite tight low end, so we're only gonna use a little bit of low end compression on there. And you're just going to want to add to taste, you know. Next, I'll work with the bass enhance. Cool. Mono bass, basically what this does is it splits everything under the specified frequency to mono, which is good for your mixes because it keeps the low end centered. You don't want your low end bouncing between two different speakers. So I typically set it around 80 hertz to 200 hertz. I found that 80 hertz and 200 hertz specifically are sweet spots for that. But yeah, moving on, I'll work a little bit with tone. And this mix is balanced pretty well. I think I might bring it a little bit darker. Actually, I'll keep it a little right of center. And you'll have to remember when you're working with tone, your balance is gonna bring up the preserved lightness of your mix. It'll bring up the high end, or the perceived high end of the mix. So keep that in mind when you're working with tone. Next, I'll move on to sauce. And you have a lot of options for sauce here, which is just saturation. You have inflation like the Oxford inflator. I don't really like Joey's inflator on this plugin. It doesn't sound great to me. The saturation is very nice. You could always be smart and use, Oxford inflator or JST heat outside of here where you have more options, and then run it into JST Maximizer. You can do that. That works. You have excitation, which is nice. It's very powerful. And then you have clarify, which just kind of brings up the high end. But today I'm going to go with saturation. That sounds good to me. So we'll move on. And I forgot this step last time I made this video, but you're always going to want to make sure you optimize your source. And what this does is it gain stages your signal for you. So basically to just optimize the signal for the plugin. So we're going to do that real quick. And it brought it up a little bit, 1.4 decibels. So that's the very first thing that you want to do in this plugin is optimize, and then set your threshold first, then optimize, and then move on to the left side. Right, now that we have that, we can move on to balance. And what this guy does is it either puts your signal into the middle of the stereo field or to the sides. And you're going to want to use your ears just like with everything on this plugin. That's what I'm saying. You know, I think I might just keep it a little right of center. It's very hard to tell with this song. I can see it over here definitely, and then I can see it kind of like right up here. I think it has a good stereo field, so there's, I mean, I could just leave it centered. I like a little bit of width, so we'll go with 12% there. Now stereo enhance kind of enhances the high end of the sides, so it doesn't really do a whole lot. It's something you really have to pay attention to. That's probably good right there. Alright, so the next thing we're going to move on to, or mess with, I should say. Next thing we'll mess with is maximization. Now you have a lot of options right here. You have limiters, you have maximizers, and you have clippers. For this mix, I will use a clipper. If you're unfamiliar with what the heck these things are, go study. Because you're going to want to learn the ins and outs of them for sure. So today I'm going to go with a 3-band clipper. And you don't have to do this with yours. You should actually, what you should do is go through the entire list and try them all out and see what they all sound like. Because they have different character. Each one has a different character from the last. So check that out. And then your maximization is basically like, if you look at a limiter, and I can bring one up here. Make sure you're saving, by the way. I'll bring a light maximizer, or sorry, limiter up. Alright, so maximization, basically when you're, I'll make this inactive. So we have another ceiling we're going to set at -0.1. And then you have a threshold. So that's going to say, it's going to tell you how much of it it's actually picking up before it cuts it down on the ceiling. So you can see I have all of this area to work with. But you could hear that there was distortion when I went beyond 7.3 decibels. So that's what I just did, was the rollback method, which basically all you do with the rollback method is you turn it up all the way, and then as soon as you start to hear distortion, you just roll it back until there's no distortion. That's a good way of setting your levels when mastering. So we're going to take this, my threshold here is set at -7.3. So theoretically, I should be able to go over into JST Maximizer and set the maximization value to 7.3 decibels. But I'm not sure if that's going to work entirely, but let's take a look. And I'll be doing the rollback method again here right now. So right there, they are a little bit different. This one's at 5.3 decibels. Maximization. And that sounds pretty good to me. You can mess with the hardness or the character of the clipper or the limiter. I'm gonna keep it at hard since it's like a hardcore song or a metalcore song. You're right about there, but they do have, you know, they do sound quite a bit different if you play with it. If you're wondering what I'm monitoring on right now, I'm monitoring, it's the middle of the night, so I'm monitoring with Biodynamic DT990 Pros. I do have a set of Atom audio monitors. Both of these things are really good. I do highly recommend them. It's just too loud right now in the middle of the night to use my monitors, so hopefully this turns out well, because I haven't mastered with headphones too often. But yeah, so once we have the hardness set, which is one of the last things we do, and the maximization and the clipping or the finalization, we're going to move on to this top area over here, and we're going to start with oversampling. Now, if you know anything about mastering, you probably know a bit about oversampling. Always keep it high when you have the option to. DC filtering is something you should understand, so go look it up. I'll keep that on. And then dithering, if you don't understand dithering, go take a minute to read about it. Always dither to what you're bouncing at, which to me is 24 bits. So that's JST Maximizer. I should also mention really quickly that you do have width monitoring, and that's actually pretty bad. Oh, it's not too bad. Just take a minute to learn what these things are. Go through each of them. Alright. Yeah, spend a little time there. And then you do have EQ and gain settings here. Yeah, so there you go. When you're working with your master, you see this little box right here, the dynamics box. You're gonna want to keep that thing in competitive. That's where you should be for your master. Yeah, so we went right about back to that 7.3. So I'll just leave it there at 7.3. Yeah, so that's JST Maximizer. If you have any questions, reach out to me. I'm on Threads a lot. I'm on Instagram. You can check out my website. I have a form on there you can go send me all your questions. If you have any ideas for another video, just, get a hold of me. Let me know what you're working on. But yeah, go give the song an export and send it over. I want to hear what you guys got.